Welcome to episode number 1 of Thoughts on Travel and Life. You know, for a while, people have been telling me that some of the videos I do where I'm just talking remind them of a podcast, or that they just like hearing my thoughts uninterrupted about whatever topic I choose. The thing is, a lot of YouTube videos, I feel like, okay, I'm going to make a video about one thing, and then that's what it's going to be about. And then when I'm done talking about that, the video's over, you know. I thought it'd be cool to have a series where I'll still be talking usually about one thing, but a series where I feel more comfortable just going for 40 minutes or however long it goes for, you know. Not feeling too restricted by what it means to make a YouTube video. Thoughts on Travel and Life is an idea I had a while ago. It was what I named this channel, actually. I mean, the name is Dan Weinberg, but the URL, the thing that you can search, it's kind of confusing because YouTube gives you like 2 different names. But the other name was Thoughts on Travel and Life. And yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I named that. I think I just had this idea. It was just a half-baked idea of like a place I could be thoughtful, a place I could be philosophical, a place I could be sharing things I experienced on my travels and sharing things I'm experiencing in my life. So here we go, episode 1. Let's see where it takes us. For context, in case this ever becomes like the world's biggest podcast or anything, I need to like document this moment because I'm literally drinking a beer, not to try to act cool or whatever. I have no problem with beer, but I'm not promoting people drink, you know. But because it's very warm in my living room right now, I mean, I could open the windows, but then it's probably going to be pretty noisy with the traffic going by. Yeah. Beer it is. And it's very warm in this apartment right now. Another one of those summer heat waves here in Montreal. I'm literally in the living room of my tiny Montreal apartment. It's August 2025, and if Dan from the future is watching this like 5 or 10 years from now, and suddenly I'm rich and and I'm sponsored by Boreali beer. Is that how you say it? Boreal? I don't know. I guess if I want to sponsor, I need to learn how to say the beer. But if future Dan is watching this and I'm rich and famous or something, don't forget where you started. Don't forget your roots. Don't become one of those shows where you get famous and then you change. I feel like that happens to every show ever. I feel like that happens to bands a lot too. I feel like all of my favorite bands, I always prefer their early albums. All of my favorite writers, I usually prefer their early books. I just have this theory, and it's not even really my theory. It's just like it seems kind of obvious to most people, right? Like you start out, you have this fire burning behind you or inside you. I don't know where the fire is, but there's some kind of fire and it's burning, and you're like, okay, we gotta go, you know. I gotta eat. Green Day makes their first album, and they're literally playing in their like mom's garage, and they're like, all right, we're kids and we're singing this punk. We're in this punk band, and like we're angry and we're broke, so it has a certain feel that conveys anger and brokenness, which is cool for a punk band. Flash forward like 30 years, you're all 50 and millionaires, and you're trying to sing like punks, and you're still dyeing your hair, but everyone's like, really? Yeah. Maybe that's a cynical view. I mean, some things can get better with time, but in general, I just always think things were better at the beginning. So, if you hate this episode, just remember, this is the beginning. It's only going to get worse from here. Anyway, I thought to get us started, I would share a story. This isn't my story. In fact, this has become a kind of well-known story in certain circles of the internet. Let me know if you've ever heard of it before. It's called Actually, it doesn't have an official title, but it's what people have started to call it is Today You, Tomorrow Me. And it was first published 15 years ago in a Reddit thread. If you don't know the website Reddit, they have this thing called Ask Reddit, where like you just ask a question and the internet can answer. And this person was asking, have you ever picked up a hitchhiker? So, it's got there's like nearly 3,000 comments. There's all these people giving their answers. Some people probably just saying no, But the people who have are sharing stories about what happened, who they met. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting answers in this thread. And I'll put a link to it down below. But the one that's always stuck with me, the answer that I've actually gone back and read a few times throughout my life, is this one. Today you, tomorrow me. I haven't read this for years though, so I'm looking forward to reading this too. So let's get started. Just about every time I see someone, I stop. I kind of got out of the habit the last couple of years. Moved to a big city and all that. My girlfriend wasn't too stoked on the practice. Then some shit happened to me that changed me, and I'm back to offering rides habitually. If you would indulge me, it is a long story and has almost nothing to do with hitchhiking other than happening on a road. As for a story about hitchhiking, the guy's already like, well, this has nothing to do with hitchhiking, but really, you want to listen. So let's see where it goes. This past year, I've had 3 instances of car trouble. A blowout on a freeway, a bunch of blown fuses, and an out of gas situation. All of them were while driving other people's cars, which, for some reason, makes it worse on an emotional level. It makes it worse on a practical level as well. What with the fact that I carry things like a jack and extra fuses in my car, and know enough not to park facing downhill on a steep incline with less than a gallon of fuel. Anyway, each of these times this shit happened, I was disgusted, all caps, disgusted, with how people would not bother to help me. I spent hours on the side of the freeway waiting, watching roadside assistance vehicles blow past me for a AAA to show. The 4 gas stations I asked for a gas can at told me that they couldn't loan them out for my safety, but I could buy a really shitty 1-gallon one with no cap for $15. It was enough each time to make you say shit like, this country is going to hell in a handbasket. But you know who came to my rescue all 3 times? Immigrants. Mexican immigrants. None of them spoke a lick of the language. But one of those guys had a profound effect on me. He was the guy that stopped to help me with a blowout with his whole family of 6 in tow. I was on the side of the road for close to 4 hours. Big Jeep, blown rear tire, had a spare but no jack. I had signs in the windows of the car. Big signs that said need a jack and offered money. No dice. Right as I am about to give up and just hitch out there, a van pulls over and dude bounds out. He sizes the situation up and calls for his youngest daughter who speaks English. He conveys through her that he has a jack, but is too small for the Jeep, so we will need to brace it. He produces a saw from the van and cuts a log out of a downed tree on the side of the road. Wow. We rolled it over, put his jack on top, and bam, in business. I started taking the wheel off, and if you can believe it, I broke his tire iron. Oh no. It was one of those collapsible ones, and I wasn't careful, and I snapped the head I needed to clean off. Fuck. No worries. He runs to the van, gives it to his wife, and she is gone in a flash, down the road to buy a new tire iron. Wow. She's back in 15 minutes. We finished the job with a little sweat and cussing. Stupid log was starting to give. And I am a very happy man. We're both filthy and sweaty. The wife produced a large water jug for us to wash our hands in. I tried to put a 20 in the man's hand, but he wouldn't take it. So I instead gave it to his wife as quietly as I could. I thanked them up one side and down the other. I asked the little girl where they lived, thinking maybe I could send them a gift for being so awesome. She says they live in Mexico. They're here so Mommy and Daddy can pick peaches for the next few weeks. After that, they are going to pick cherries and then go back home. She asks if I've had lunch, and when I told her no, she gave me a tamale from their cooler. The best fucking tamale I ever had. So to clarify, a family that is undoubtedly poorer than you, me, and just about everyone else on that stretch of road, working on a seasonal basis where time is money, took an hour or two out of their day to help some strange dude on the side of the road when people in tow trucks were just passing me by. Wow. Well, we aren't done yet. I thanked them again and walked back to my car and opened the foil on the tamale because I'm starving at this point. And what do I find inside? My fucking $20 bill. Oh my God, I forgot so much about the story. This is epic. I whirl around and run up to the van, and the guy rolls his window down. He sees the $20 in my hand, and just shaking his head, no, he won't take it. All I can think to say is, por favor, por favor, por favor. With my hands out, por favor. Dude just smiles, shakes his head, and with what looked like great concentration, tried his hardest to speak to me in English. Today, you. Tomorrow, me. Rolled up his window, drove away, his daughter waving to me in the rear view. Ugh. Someone needs to make a movie out of this. I sat in my car eating the best fucking tamale of all time, and I just cried like a little girl. It has been a rough year, and nothing has broke my way. This was so out of left field, I just couldn't deal. In the 5 months since then, I have changed a couple of tires, given a few rides to gas stations, and once went 50 miles out of my way to get a girl to an airport. I wouldn't accept money. Every time, I tell them the same thing when we're through. Today you, tomorrow me. Pretty epic, huh? Pretty epic story. There's a couple things I could say now, but I just want to give us a moment to all reflect, you know. The first thing I guess to say would be, if you've ever known anyone like that in your life, or you've ever met someone who's had that kind of profound impact, maybe you could leave a comment down below, and you could either say, you can say a couple of words. You can say like, yeah, that person on that airplane in Greece, or, or if you want, you can write a whole story and we can read those together. But sometimes these people it's a deeply personal, almost a spiritual impact that these people can have. I'm thinking of someone who had a similar impact in my life. Maybe I'll save that for episode 2. It's a crazy story, my situation. That's a long story. Yeah. If people want to hear it, I could share that story someday. Maybe if we get 1,000 views on this video, I'll share that story. Okay, I gotta know someone's listening. I'm embarrassed. It's a new show. I don't know what's gonna happen here. But enough about my embarrassment. We're talking about the kindness of strangers, and what a great topic that is. First of all, I got to point out, it didn't surprise me at all, the twist when it was the Mexican immigrant who shared that. And it's one of the reasons I keep going back to Mexico. It's something I've tried to show in my videos there, but like the cool interactions with locals, it so often happens when you're not filming videos. So it's something I can only share words about. But the Mexican spirit, the heart that people have, and the openness to help a stranger, and to there's just like the default setting in Mexico is like, oh, that's someone from somewhere else, like let's make sure they have a good time, let's make sure they're okay. You're in Mexico now, you're family, like familia, you know, the family is such a strong concept down there, and it's like they just treat you like one instantly. That's not to say like every stranger passing you, but like everyone you have a little interaction with will, almost without question, just treat you with so much kindness that it will touch your heart, and then it will break your heart when you think about how the opposite is often true about the Mexicans who come to the United States of America. You know, to have that kind of kindness while simultaneously dealing with a country that wants to export you, and a president who says that you're all a bunch of criminals and illegal aliens. Oof. I hate that term, illegal alien. Even that word, it's so dehumanizing. I can't believe we ever... I think calling like people from another country aliens, I think that's going to be like... I mean, I don't want to say any like racist words from the past, but I think it's going to be one of those words that we were like our grandkids are like, grandpa, grandma, oh yeah, alien. Like you just, how can you say that? But yeah, it's hard to see the state of the United States right now, and it's something. When I do videos talking shit about Donald Trump, they get a lot of views, and it feels good for me to rant. So maybe I should do more videos. I mean, he just called the National Guard into Washington D.C. I don't know if you saw that. He called about 10,000 troops into Washington D.C. under the pretense that Washington is. You know, he said something about this city is full of criminals and violence, and we need to clean it up. So we're calling in the National Guard. Whereas, like, meanwhile, he's the one who is like involved in this whole like Jeffrey Epstein like shenanigans, and he's the one whose approval ratings are plummeting, and he's the one who's getting more and more anger about how ICE is going around deporting people and terrorizing the nation. So it's kind of like if you sense that there's big protests coming, you can just call in the National Guard to like stop any gatherings of people who might protest Trump under the pretense of the situation. Oh, it's lawlessness, right? He said the same thing when he tried to when he did tariff Canada. He's like, oh, this country, all the drugs are coming from Canada. It's a dangerous communist country, you know, all this nonsense. It's classic dictator stuff. So, as you can tell from the last 2-3 minutes of this show, I can easily rant about politics. The question is, do I want to be that person? Maybe it's like everything is the correct dosage. Maybe like every episode of a show like this, I'll talk a bit of politics, but I'll try not to only talk politics, because then you become the political show, which is... I mean, there's political commentators who I respect. There's people who I think, on the one hand, like it is, you know, it does serve a purpose. There's a lot of people who, you know, maybe you're too busy to watch the news, or maybe you want to find someone you think is thoughtful and like hear their take, instead of just turn on Fox News or CNN or BBC or whatever. But in general, I think it's very easy to just fall down an echo chamber and just becoming someone who like gets more and more radical to the left or to the right, and then you're just ranting about things. And then you have your audience, and you need to like just I don't know, you just become like more and more deranged. Like I don't I don't think any of those people are happy. And that's a topic I've been actually thinking about a lot recently. Because, and I've asked a few people in real life, like friends and stuff, who about this. Like, do you think it's morally, what am I trying to say? Is it morally bad? Is it morally wrong to not pay attention to the news or the state of the world or anything, right? If I just like never turn on another news channel, never like, as best as I can, never hear the word Donald Trump unless a stranger just walking by is saying it, right? Like if I avoid all news, all politics, if I don't vote, my friend starts saying, oh, did you see the thing with Syria? And I say, stop. I don't care. In theory, it would be possible if you just avoid everything. And then literally it could be like a nuclear bomb just dropped on France and I wouldn't even know. Unless I just got a glimpse of a newspaper passing by in the grocery store. But then as soon as I saw it back, I don't care. Just keep walking, right? And just live your life like that. Now, would that be morally wrong? I think a lot of people would think it is. A lot of people would be like, hey, you're not being a good citizen. You need to be informed. You need to be a good citizen. You need to be informed. But and like I agree, I'm kind of making fun. I'm saying good citizen, but like I agree. Like I try to be informed. Clearly, like I'm talking about this stuff. But the paradox is, a lot of the happiest people I've met in my life, at least, people who seem happy. I guess no one really knows but themselves who is truly happy. Because some people like seem to be happy. They're like, oh, I'm so happy, but then at home, but some of the people who appear very happy and relaxed and carefree are just like people I've met in surf towns or hostels. Like some of the people who just work at hostels. And like literally they probably couldn't even tell you who the president of the United States is. Well, I mean, that's maybe an exaggeration. But like they certainly wouldn't know what he tweeted, or they certainly wouldn't know that he sent the National Guard to Washington. They'd just be like, like whenever like you talk about politics, there's like, oh yeah, that's crazy, and then just change the subject. Like, there's people like that who don't care at all, and they seem content, And so, if on some degree the purpose of life, at least the purpose I have, you may disagree, but I would like to. It's not that I want to reach enlightenment. It's not that I think I can reach enlightenment. But I would like to, if there's a path, I'd like to take one step on that journey, right? If if this beer can is enlightenment, and I do believe that enlightenment would be a beer can, by the way, and I'm way back here, like I want to take one step. That if it takes me like 20 more lifetimes to get there, or maybe I never get there, it doesn't matter. It's just a journey I'd like to take a step on, instead of like the material world, this world of things that we're living in. Some people try to attain more and more wealth, more and more stuff that feeds their ego, and they don't, not only do they not take a step on the route to enlightenment, they actually they get these material things at the expense of their spiritual growth. Donald Trump may have a lot in this world, but if there is an afterlife, if there is a God, if there is a Buddha, if there is a spiritual path to be walked, yeah, that guy is gonna have some trouble. That guy's going to have some karmic trouble. Which maybe is a good way to cycle back to the today you, tomorrow me thing. The words of broken English, well, not quite broken English, but they said in the story that the guy's English wasn't very good, but he did his best to get those words out. He was like, I can barely speak English, but it's so important. I got to say this. Today me. Hoy yo. Tomorrow. No, today you. Hoy tú. Mañana yo. I don't know how to say it in Spanish. I got to work on my Spanish. Today you, tomorrow me. But I guess that would be like if I were in that situation and somehow I was able to help with the flat tire, and I was in Mexico driving down there from Canada, I'd be like, hoy, tú, mañana, me, yo, me. I think it's me, actually. Like, am I, me. And they would get the picture, It would be like that. That would be like my level of comprehension. But clearly that's someone who believes in karma. You believe that will come back, in this lifetime or the next. Mexico is definitely a spiritual place as well. I mean, there's a lot of... Catholicism is huge in Mexico. There's indigenous beliefs, and sometimes the two of them mix. There's even, to the south of Mexico, in states like Chiapas, which have a lot of indigenous populations. I've even seen there's, churches, and you'll see this in parts of Guatemala, too. There's churches where, how can I put it? There's people who go in the Catholic Church, but then there's other people who need to pray at the steps. And they're indigenous peoples who they actually they were converted to Catholics in a sense. They believe in the same God, but they still have their traditional traditions. And the hardcore Catholics are okay, this is blasphemy. You're believing in false gods too. We can't let you in the church, but we'll let you pray on the steps of the church. Which is a weird middle ground. It's strange. And I think it's No, I can't say that. I was going to say I think it's un-Christian because you're supposed to would Jesus have been get out there or stay on the steps? I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe they have reasons for that I haven't fully thought out. I don't know. But I think separate from all the religious stuff, there's still... they have Dia de Muertos, Day of the Dead, when you just you remember your family members who have passed. That's what it is. Now it's become people paint their faces and they have these little orange flowers, and now it's become kind of something a bit Halloweenish for some people. But that's only in the last 10 years that's really taken off. Before that, in the tradition of Dia de Muertos was a day when Mexicans will have, usually there's a little altar with photos, and sometimes I've even seen Mexican altars with beers, or tequila. So if Grandpa passed away, you have a little altar to him and a few things he liked. Sometimes cigarettes and stuff, which is quite funny. Because hey, those cigarettes might have killed Grandpa anyway. Why are you putting them next to his altar? But no, it's just things that the deceased family members would have liked, and it's put them there with the photos, with the flowers, and so sometimes people pray at home to that, and sometimes people spend the night in the cemetery with their loved ones, and that's a beautiful thing. Though with the touristic success of Dia de Muertos, more and more foreigners are coming down and going to cemeteries as a tourist site, which is questionable, ethically questionable. Actually, I think. I did it once actually, and to be fair, there's a lot of Mexicans doing it too. There's a town called Pátzcuaro, and I don't know if you guys remember, there was a movie called Coco, and it was was a movie about like Day of the Dead and about this Mexican tradition. It was a cartoon, a beautiful movie. You should check it out. It really talks about that sense of Mexican family that I was touching on in this episode. And anyway, that movie came out like, I don't know, 2015, 16. And then in 2017 or 18, I was in Mexico and I got invited by a Mexican guy who started a tour company, and he took me to the state of Michoacan, which, by the way, is one of the more dangerous states in Mexico. It's on the do not travel list. So I was a bit like nervous at first, but I had a beautiful time, very safe, no problems. We visited a few places, and one of them was this island, Pátzcuaro. It's a tiny little island that everyone wants to visit for Day of the Dead. And I went there, and they took us to the cemetery, and it was just overcrowded with people. And some people had like beers and stuff. It just felt. I mean, to be fair, like Mexicans like always seem to have beers, like that, like like that. I don't know. It was weird because like I felt it like it was like there were very few foreigners there. It was mostly other Mexicans from other states who were like there just to enjoy the night. So it was kind of like an like Mexicans versus other Mexicans. Like I kind of thought the visitors were being disrespectful to the locals who were like praying and worshiping and remembering their ancestors, And people are literally like stepping on some of the like tombs as they like wander around, because it was just so. It was like when a soccer game ends and there's like 10,000 people like all exiting. There was just too many people. Like no one could even barely see what was happening, and it's nighttime and like there's candles everywhere. There was just a lot going on. So, like, and I was making YouTube videos about Mexico. So I was brought down there like to film the trip. Right, I was given this trip, and it was an exchange. Like I don't pay for it, but I do some promotion about the tour, And in the end, I told the guide like, hey, well, he saw me like I wasn't filming that part, and I told him I just feels kind of disrespectful to like the locals here, And he didn't fully agree with me, but he kind of agreed. He was like, I understand. I see what you're saying. And it wasn't a problem that I decided not to film that night, and I just filmed the other parts of the tour. But he was surprised because like that was the highlight. Like that was the highlight of his tour. And he was like, "Dan, like this is the reason we just drove like 8 hours to be in Michoacan, But to me, it felt kind of weird, and it's a strange situation to be in sometimes as a traveler when you are from your country and you're somewhere else and you see something that strikes you as wrong. For example, when I was in Vietnam and I saw people just burning piles of trash on the side of the road. That is wrong in terms of like everything I know about the environment, and also like it's very unhealthy, not just for like the planet, but for like the people who are just there burning it, and like they have a little stick and they're standing like 6 feet away from the burning trash, and they're burning like, I mean, I never got too close to see what they're burning, but I think they're burning like bags of chips and stuff, like really toxic things, plastic, like really bad things to be burning, right? And they're like potentially taking years off their life burning this stuff. But if I went up there as a foreigner, it was like shaking this old man, like, you're gonna die. Like, what are you doing? You're killing the planet. Don't do that. He might just laugh, or he might just push me away and be like, get out of here, foreign guy. What are you talking about? Stop imposing your beliefs on us. And if I told that Mexican drinking a beer, stepping on that grave in Pátzcuaro during Day of the Dead, not to do that, you might tell me, go home, gringo. This isn't your place to tell us how to celebrate Dia de Muertos. And to a certain extent, he's right. And to a certain extent, that's a problem the whole world is dealing with. On a bigger scale as well. Like when you have situations like, I mean, Brazil, I don't know with their current president, but when they had that Bolsonaro guy, like they were like cutting down a lot of the Amazon rainforest. And other countries would be like, yeah, the world's kind of ending. We probably shouldn't be doing that. And Brazil would be like, stay out of this world. This is our resource, and we're utilizing it. And we're like, yeah, but it's the biggest force in the world. It's kind of the lung of the planet. We kind of need this to be here. And Brazil would be like, hey, like, you know what? You guys spent the last 200 years destroying the planet. Now it's our turn. They wouldn't say that, but you can imagine some of them thinking it. So yeah, these issues are complicated. How does one country tell another country what to do or what to think? And is it ever appropriate to do so? I think it is, but you can't come from like a... You just need a lot of respect. You need to, like, I think you can ask questions. Or you can like set your boundary. Like in the case of the Mexico trip, I didn't tell everyone to stop doing this. I wasn't like deeply offended by Mexico. I was just like, it feels wrong. I'm not going to film it. And maybe I got the tour guide to like think a little bit. We did actually visit another graveyard on that trip. The same night, actually, because the crowd to get to the famous one was... Oh, my battery's dying. 1 second. I knew that would happen when I started. I saw my battery wasn't full, and I'm like, oh, this is going to die eventually. But again, this is a one-man team, my friends, and sometimes these things happen. But yeah, just to finish that thought, like we did visit another graveyard earlier that night on the way to the crowded one because the traffic was so heavy. There were like hundreds of minibuses trying to get on this tiny island. And as we were stuck in traffic, we pulled off and we saw another one with almost no one was there. And you just got to like kind of from a distance like see some people with their, their grandparents' tombstone, just sitting there peacefully with lots of orange flowers and some little candles. And it seemed to me like a deeply beautiful custom. And somehow more in touch with... I just think they have a more enlightened way of thinking about death. Like I think that's a really cool thing. Whereas like in Canada, it's like, oh, if you think about your passed away grandparent or something, you usually get sad and it's like, oh, let's change the subject. I'm sad. They're just like, oh, let's just go hang out with Grandpa. Let's bring his favorite beer. Let's just have like a fun time at night. I think that's a good way to do it. Not death doesn't need to be sad. It can be something you just experience. Everything has a beginning and end. Just like this episode. So this is what I'm thinking, my friends. I'm going to do this maybe once a week. We'll see how this first episode's taken. Even though I was saying in a video recently how I don't want to care about external feedback. I want to just do my own thing. It is true about something like this that, it's more technically difficult. Like I said, I just had my battery die and I'm going to have a lot of video footage to put in my editor and to post from this. And I'm sitting here in this very warm apartment. So, it's a bit more of a production to have something, what are we at? We're like over 40 minutes at this point. And so, yeah, if there's some interest in this show, that would be cool. If there isn't, I'll probably still do it, but maybe less often. We'll see how that goes. Also, if you have a theme or a topic for me to talk about next time, let me know. See, the other thing about being a one-man team, you gotta think about what you're going to talk about. But I think today was a nice rambling episode, a good mix of thoughts on travel and thoughts on life. Thoughts on travel and life. Episode number 1, my friends. As always, you can support by... I don't know. You can buy me a beer if you want. Should I have a beer every episode? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I guess I should finish the beer. Oh, yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, peoples of the internet. Hope you have a wonderful day, afternoon, night, weekend, weekday, month, year. Why am I just like naming random things? Hope you all have an awesome time. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you next time. Peace.